Okay, so today I'm going to cover a topic that I typically try to avoid. I avoid answering the questions, I avoid consulting people on it. And the reason why is because what I'm going to talk about today is a topic that is inherently risky, especially if you aren't a sophisticated investor. But that being said, I think it makes sense to at least have a conversation around it because there's so much poor information out there, both on the internet and with big real estate investment organizations that are selling information and making it seem like fixing and flipping properties is something that is super easy and really relatively risk-free, and that is not necessarily the case. And in today's video, I'm going to show you a real property that we recently did a fix and flip on. I'm going to show you the numbers, I'm going to show you the before and after pictures, and I'm going to explain how we did this, what you needed to know in order to be able to do this, and why it ends up being a really cool investment from the perspective of basically creating an infinite money glitch by having a $0 investment that spews out money on an annual basis. But before we get into the details of the video, do me that favor, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers. We are now halfway there. We are going to give one lucky subscriber $5,000 to put into their RESP or their RSP or their TFSA or even to pay down their mortgage just for subscribing to this channel. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, and it's definitely worth it. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit. Product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss fixing and flipping properties. And I'm going to start with, again, giving a disclaimer here. This is a topic that is inherently dangerous from an investment perspective. If you're going to do this, you need to make sure you're getting professional advice, and you need to make sure you have a fallback position. This is not the type of thing you do if you don't have any assets other than your house and you're just going to refinance, throw all your money into an investment property and hope for the best. You need to have a fallback plan, and in most cases, you should have multiple fallback plans, whether that be selling the property, renting it out, or just having the cash to be able to pay out a large amount of the mortgage in order to make the investment viable. So these are investments that, yes, they can be very fruitful. In this case, we've created essentially an infinite money glitch or an infinite return on this property, and I'll show you how we did that a little bit later on in the video. But the first and foremost thing I need people to understand is that this is risky, and you need to know what you're doing, and you need to have a group of the right people around you. So let's jump into it, and I'm going to first of all show you the property. So this is a property that we purchased in Calgary recently. We purchased it actually in November of last year, and we did essentially a full renovation on it. We did a full flip on it. We hired one of the best contractors in the city. We hired the best realtor to sell it to us. And we basically did all the due diligence to make sure that this was a property that we pretty much had every single chance of winning on. So I'm going to show you the property itself first. This is the building. It is the Rio Milan in Calgary here. It is a 1960s built building. This is one thing that we always look for. We look for well-established, older built buildings. And now people say to me, what about the condo fees? What about the maintenance fees, the strata fees? I don't mind strata fees and maintenance fees in a well-maintained building, because what that means is that I don't have to worry about fixing the roof down the road. I don't have to worry about doing the maintenance on the property. All I have to worry about is what's inside the four walls, and my exposure ends up basically being appliances, and that is it. So we tend to buy this type of properties. In the future, we'll start buying multi-unit buildings where I will have to worry about the boilers and the roof and everything else. But when we're starting building our portfolio, this is what we have chosen as our investment, because quite frankly, once we've got renters in there, it's pretty hands off. There's a professional manager that manages the building, and most of what we would normally have to take care of if we were renting out a house is taken care of by that management company. So beautiful building. This particular unit was a foreclosure. It was not in very good condition, and it was bought through the courts. So what we had to do was we had to submit an offer, wait for a court date. There was another offer on the property. We had to beat out that offer. And when we did, we had a very short closing, and we basically took possession of the property within 2 weeks of the court date. This is what the property looked like when we bought it on the inside. It was missing some cabinet doors. It had a lot of damage. This is what it looked like when we started to tear it apart. And what we could find is that, the previous flooring from the 1960s was still there. There was a lot of, skeletons in this particular unit's closet. Take a look at that cord that's dangling behind what was once the cabinets that were there. And, it was just a unit that wasn't in very good repair. And we were okay with that when we made the purchase decision. And the reason why was because we knew we were going to basically gut it. Now, the thing about gutting a property is you always find things that you didn't expect. For example, in this unit, we found things like a copper pipe that was pretty much deteriorated. It was very close to having a catastrophic failure. We found those power cords running behind the cabinets. We found electrical boxes that weren't properly done. The contractor at one point almost got electrocuted on when he was putting the stove in, and there was just a whole bunch of things that over the years had gone by the wayside, and those were all things that got fixed up when we put this unit together. And what we did is we did a full reno and we made some changes. You can see over top of essentially it's an island there, but over top of this area right here, we took out all the cabinets, opened it up, we put in LED lighting, all new cabinets, all new doors, all new flooring. One thing about doing a flip is if you can find something that you can make a focal piece of the renovation, so something that pops and wows, that's usually something that goes a long way in resale value or goes a long way when you're renting out the property. In this case, the contractor, which was Elevation Luxury Homes in Calgary here, he went ahead and he found that if he took the flooring and he extended it up into the island, it created a really cool look. So just did a really great job with the design here. One thing about fixing and flipping is I basically just hired the contractor and said, you do what you think will sell. And he had to run everything by me. I had control. I guided the ship, but he had the ability to do what he wanted to do in order to make the place look good, which is a great way to deal with the contractor, because if you give them that bandwidth and that flexibility to do the things that they're an expert in, they tend to go a little bit further. He went so far as, because he's a luxury home builder, to put magnets in all of the closet doors so they had this soft closed feel to them, which I thought was really cool. And then he went through, did the bathrooms, made them look amazing, and did some things like the electric baseboard heaters here. He painted them, he spray painted them black so they had this pop, and once you looked at them, you couldn't see all of the insides of the electric baseboard heaters, which if you've ever seen can tend to be pretty nasty. So at the end of the day, we bought this property and it was in disrepair, and when it was done, it was absolutely beautiful. In fact, we had so many people lined up to see it when we decided to rent it out that we pretty much had to rent it out on the second day of showing and cancel a whole bunch of appointments because it just became overwhelming. That's how nice of a renovation that was done on this property. Now, what I want to show you is I want to show you how the numbers broke out. Because here's the thing, when you do a fix and flip, there's a whole bunch of options. You can flip it and try to sell it and make a bunch of cash. You can flip it and try to rent it out. You can do a refinance on it and try to pull your money out and basically have $0 into it. And the first thing that you can do that obviously comes to mind is selling it. Now, in this case, we decided not to sell this property. The reason why is because we were maybe going to make $40,000, $50,000 on it. And there wasn't a lot that we could have done with that money right now that would have made sense to A, pay the taxes on it, and B, pull it out of a property and not have it earning any income. So we decided that we were going to keep the property and rent it out. And that's what we did. We kept it. But what we did is we did a refi on the property. And here's how the numbers looked. Basically, we started off by paying $135,000. Again, it was a judicial sale. It was bought in the courts, and it was bought for very much under market price. And then what we did is we did a $33,000 renovation on it. We ended up at the end of the day having a total of $169,000 into the property after legal fees. And we ended up deciding that we were going to refinance the property because we took it from basically $170,000 in our costs to a value of $225,000, which means we could pull out up to $180,000. Now, we chose to refi just for the amount that we had put into the property, didn't have a need for the extra $10,000. And at the end of the day, here's what happens. Here's how this plays out. We end up with a property that we have put $0 into. We've gotten every penny out in the refinance that we put into it. So our initial investment is $0. we've instantaneously got $55,000 in equity in the property because it's now worth $225,000. And we have a mortgage on it that, with the condo fees and the taxes, essentially breaks even. Now, one might think, why don't you pull your equity out or sell the property if it's just breaking even? Well, here's why, is because even though it's breaking even, our mortgage pay down every single month on this property is going to be about $500. So every single year, we are getting $6,000 in income from this property. Now, it's not cash that's coming into our pocket, but it is mortgage pay down, and it is increasing our net worth by $6,000 every single year. So we put $0 into the property, we get $6,000 in returns every single year, and therefore it creates a really great scenario and essentially an infinite money glitch. Because if you make an investment of $0 and you get a return of $6,000, what is your return? Well, it's infinite, because we don't have any money into the actual property itself. And this is how people build portfolios and end up in a situation where 10, 15 years into building the portfolio, they're purchasing properties at a rate of 1 or 2 a year, because all the properties combined are basically paying off each mortgage on an annual basis. So how this looks for us is we've got a property that over the next 5 years is going to earn us about $30,000. And at the point where we have that $30,000 in additional equity, we'll probably go and do a refinance, pull the money out, and purchase another property. We'll use that $30,000 as the down payment or $30,000 as the renovation fee. And then what that'll allow us to do is have an additional property that will have some sort of return and some sort of mortgage pay down on an annual basis, and it'll basically double. And then we will be able to purchase the next property even faster, maybe in 2.5 years. And then we'll be able to purchase the next property after that in 1.5 years, and so on and so forth, until we're able to purchase properties on a fairly regular basis while keeping our loan to value ratio low and ultimately creating a very low risk portfolio. So, just by being able to do something like purchase a property like this with $0 money down, yes, it took 6 months for us to do the renovation. We had some carrying costs, but at the end of the day, we've got $0 into this property. The lessons that we learned on this property were, one, during a pandemic, supplies are hard to get. So a renovation that should have taken 60 days took 6 months. That kind of sucked because it cost me about $4,000 in rent. But outside of that, this property ended up being a really great investment. It's going to be a great investment over the next 18 to 25 years as the mortgage gets paid down, as it gets closer and closer to being free and clear. And it basically generates an income that will allow maybe our kids to go to university, or will allow us to have a golf membership somewhere, or basically just create an income. And if we can do 5 or 10 of these over the next 5 to 10 years, we've basically put ourselves in a situation where we've been able to replace our income in the long term. And ultimately, that is a really good thing. So if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers. We're going to give away $5,000 to one lucky subscriber. So go ahead, click that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out.